Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. These guys are moving. They all over the place. Ryan ain't even in the same background anymore. Um, and we got a special guest in the building, Cade. Let me see. So Cade has actually been in the business for, well, he was in the moving industry for 5 years while he was going through college, and then decided that, it was backbreaking. So he ended up getting himself out of the industry for a little bit, while focusing on other endeavors, and then ultimately ended back up in the moving industry because the moving industry is a trap. It'll get you. Um, so he's been doing it for about 2 years now, successfully doing his own thing. So Cade, yeah, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, excited to be here, guys. So, a little bit of background on myself. I was in the moving industry for about 4 or 5 years while I was going through college. Started there. Um, Ended up managing the company before I left, and really just got out of it because it was starting to take a toll on my body. And me and the owner didn't see super eye to eye, but ended up stepping away, getting into door-to-door sales in the pest control industry, which then led to me learning marketing so that I didn't have to do door-to-door sales anymore. And from there, it ended up turning into me basically starting my own pest control company, which then led into multiple other companies that I now own today. And so I own multiple companies across the board now, ranging from pest control. Obviously, now we do have a moving company that we ended up starting up just just over 2 years ago now. We have three locations with that already. So yeah, and then softwares and marketing agency, branding, all sorts of stuff. So keeping busy.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwight Mack with Max Moving Training. So we're gonna be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
Okay, nice. And Ryan, want to tell everybody where you disappeared to this weekend?
I wish it was the weekend, man. No, yesterday I was in Buffalo, so the New York State Moving Association put on a kind of like a hyper-local mini mover meetup. So you know how typically most associations have that large gathering at the end of the year, the conference or what have you. I think these guys are trying something a little bit different, and it's pretty cool. So initially we were in Buffalo last night, so all the movers in Buffalo basically all kind of converged onto this place called Big Ditch Brewing, which is a pretty badass brewery, and just 2 hours worth of networking, having some food, a drink or two, and then I got up yesterday morning and beat feet it over to Rochester, New York, good old ROC. Where last night we're at the Genesee Brewing Company. I think there was like 14 moving companies, 13 or 14 moving companies that showed up, had some fun, and yeah, it was just a great time, man. There was moving companies from just about all over the place that kind of converged all in here to the good old ROC, and we had a great time last night. So I'll probably be driving home after this podcast here.
Okay, yeah, you definitely need to get some rest because, rest is the name of the game when you can.
It's kind of, it was a nice little entry into the beginning of travel season or conference season, right? So instead of just diving headfirst in with a 3, 4 day conference, it was nice to just kind of bomb in for 2 hours and then next day 2 hours. So kind of a nice little entryway into what's to come this year for all these events.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, Kate, if I'm correct, and I may be wrong, I know we spoke a little bit ago. You said you were doing stuff with marketing?
Yeah, so I do own one of the companies I have is a full service marketing agency. Basically, we do everything from social media ads, SEO. We do stuff with like Yelp, Bing, a bunch of different platforms. Plus, we also have a branding department, so we can do design, branding. We build websites. We got video editors on staff. So we actually also have a full department of app developers too. So we're kind of full fledged there. Can do
Okay,
so
so
far. I haven't seen anything we can't do, but
I, I hear that. So what do you feel like? What do you feel your strength lies? Is it on the more on the moving side or the marketing side?
man, at this point, for me personally, I'd say my strengths are really in systems and operations of a business in general. That's really where,
Yes. Okay.
for me personally, I think I flourish is, and that's why we have the amount of companies that we do today because we've been able to build systems and processes, and a lot of them are repeatable across these different industries. It's really just rinse and repeat, and then how does it incorporate with that industry to make it better? So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Um, any questions on your end, Ryan?
No, man, you got your hand, man. One busy man, man. You got your hands all over the place. But I agree with you 100%, man. A business is a business is a business, and once you
yep,
get that system and process down, definitely. I don't want to say it's super easy to rinse and repeat, but definitely having that outline and that
yeah,
that great guide, um, truly can make it easier for you to enter just about any space for the most
yep,
part. So kudos to you. You seem like a young guy. I don't have that type of energy in me anymore to do all of that stuff as I'm getting older. But and these guys, enough goes on here. I don't even have the time to get my hands on their stuff. But
yep,
the door-to-door sales, man, like as a I don't want to say as a kid, but in my early days, I did that.
yep.
People thought I was crazy. Now, it wasn't
Oh
vacuums.
yeah,
I'll leave the industry out of what I was doing, but I'd say it's very satisfying. I learned a ton. So love to
oh
hear
for
your
sure.
thoughts on like, almost I feel like everyone should be a car salesman. Everybody should dive into this industry or that just to kind of get that experience and exposure. So thoughts on door to door when people say, not for me or that's old
Yeah.
school doesn't work. What did door to door mean to you as you were kind of evolving into the plethora of businesses that you own now?
Number three, make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer can smell your guy from a mile away, and now, again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you have uniform shirts, that it doesn't look like, you have a laborer that's, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number four, introduce both you and your partner when greeting a customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, while your driver is unloading the truck and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, allow them to welcome you into their home.
Yeah, no, I personally think door to door is a great thing for anyone to do, even if you're someone that hates sales. Because the reality of it is that sales is a big part of any business you're going to do. So if you're going to start any company, you need to have sales skills. And for me personally, I feel that door to door is one of the hardest sales you can ever do because it's basically a cold call, but now you're showing up on someone's front door, and that can be even worse than just calling because at least they can hang up. Where now they're, sometimes you're getting people telling you to F off and get off my property before I, go get my shotgun. So like just in general, I felt that door to door was an amazing experience for the fact that you have to learn how to get tough. You have to have tough skin, but you also have to learn how to connect with people super fast if you want to be able to make the sale. So I thought it was super valuable. I mean, I would say that it would be something that I believe anyone that is thinking about starting any kind of business at all should really look at doing, because you do have to, you learn so many different things through it, such as connecting with people, sales. You also have to build up an extremely strong tolerance to rejection. You have to build up an extremely strong tolerance to being out on the doors, especially depending on where you're at. It could be super cold, it could be raining, it could be 100 degrees. And when I was doing it, I lived in Nebraska because I grew up in Nebraska most of my life. And so when I started door-to-door sales, that's where I was at. And the weather, we would have sometimes we'd have snow in the morning and then 100-degree weather in the afternoon. So like you had to be out there doing whatever you had to do to make your sale. And then it's even better if you're doing a straight commission, because now you're really forced to have to make your sales to make money. And it you learn a lot of discipline, and not overall just a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of great skills that apply to all aspects of business. So I I didn't necessarily love it, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, I think we all came from that aspect, between, like you said, door to door, network
Yep.
marketing, always hearing that those are some pyramid schemes and all the cold calling you do with that stuff.
Yep. Yep.
But it definitely toughens your skin. We do have a question from the audience. Sean said, being that you're you have marketing expertise, what strategies have helped you grow your moving company from a marketing standpoint?
Personally, Facebook has always been one of the best. Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't like Facebook. They don't think it is a great source, but what I don't think a lot of guys understand is when you run Facebook ads, yes, you can generate a lot of quantity in terms of leads, and they may not be the best, but you also generate a lot of exposure for your business for a very low cost. So I personally have always really liked like doing Facebook ads specifically, and more specifically lead form ads on Facebook, because again, you capture a lot of people's information. It's not always the greatest. They're they don't always answer. It's a very interruptive type of marketing, but you get so much exposure for such a small amount of money. You can spend $100 and reach 1,000, 10,000 people with that $100. So that's why I like it. But because then if you couple that with content that you're posting across your platforms, people will always go search you. And so now they're seeing you, then they're searching you. And if you're doing content where you're posting pictures of your guys moving, someone leaves you a review, you screenshot the review and you post a picture of the review that you got. And you just do little things like that, then that starts to add up. So I really like that aspect of it. Granted, we do marketing across all platforms, but the social media through Facebook, Instagram, running ads, I personally like, and it has been one of the best across the board for all of my companies, especially when starting something where people don't know who you are. It's just
Yeah.
exposure.
And I thought about Facebook ads too. And the whole thing with Facebook ads, I just don't like their charging method. You say, hey, I'm gonna do $5, $10 a day, or whatever the case is, and
Hmm.
you do have to go in the back end and adjust your threshold so that they're not charging like every so often.
Yeah.
But for some reason they were still charging me. I was just like, why do I have so many 67-cent charges, $1.39? And it's like, just charge me when you get to $50. Once you get to $50, you can charge me, you know?
Yeah.
And they just kept doing it. And it was to the point where it's like Facebook is too big to dispute. You have to go through so many loopholes to get to a person. And
Yeah.
they really only want to speak to businesses. They don't like you're not finding them if you're a regular person.
Yeah, it's not easy. Google's the same way though. Like no matter what platform that they're large, they're not, and even as an agency where we have dedicated reps now that actually manage and help us with our account, it's still not easy. They're still a pain to work with sometimes, but their platforms allow us to grow, and so I like it.
Yeah. So Sean said I've had troubles getting Instagram leads, but Instagram and Facebook combined gives me good exposure.
Yep.
So yeah, no, if social media is working for you, again, you want to be as original as possible, in my opinion. Very similar to what Ryan said, you know, how and this was like several episodes ago, but he was saying that, you know, obviously one person could create a post and then the next day there's multiple people that have like literally the same type of post,
Hmm.
just revamped for themselves.
Yep.
And there's just no creativity. You just see pretty much people posting, "Hey, I got a truck, want a free quote?" You know, and it's just, I guess you want to definitely stand out.
Yeah, and that's where you have to learn how to innovate because even when I started with the pest control company, like we were on the front line of it that really made online marketing work for that industry. And we had so many guys come to us saying, dude, how are you getting 100 plus customers a month with Facebook ads? Because it was kind of unheard of at that time. And then of course we started teaching our friends and then people started wanting to pay us to do it. But then you realize, well, now everyone's just copying our stuff. So we had to innovate. We had to find different ways to make our offer either better or stand out or be different because now everyone across the board was starting to take our $67 initial service offer. And so you have to learn how to innovate, you have to learn and do market research more importantly, see what your competitors are doing and how can you do something that's a little bit different or stand out and then it also too depends are you running any kind of offer? Running an offer is, of course, a great way to get people in the door. But you'll also notice that a lot of bigger brands and companies tend to not do any offers because they're just doing exposure and branding. So obviously, there's so many facets to marketing. You really just have to decide what's going to be best for you, and then
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you guys got to delegate. You know, marketing is his own department.
oh yeah,
Like I used to, like I always told everybody that's been listening to our podcast and any trainings that you guys seen from me, it's all about departmentalizing your company into departments.
hmm
And marketing being its own department is like, hey, you can literally spend a month to 2 months to 3 months on marketing itself if you really looked into each nook and cranny of your marketing department and seen that, hey, you know what, we could be doing postcards, we could be doing
yep,
outreach. We can be, you know, you name it. There's stuff that's on your phone lines, like you're on hold when you have people on hold. What is that on hold doing for you? Is it music? Is it giving value, dropping, you know, some sort of, hey, did you know that we offer packing services at this rate or whatever the case is? And it's kind of like looking at all these facets. And that's what's going to make the difference from where you are now to where you plan on being. But it is costly.
oh yeah, it definitely can be for sure. It's either costing you money or it's costing you time.
Hmm.
There's no way around it. It's one or the other.
So what do you feel about the so I heard some people saying that SEO is dying. Like, what do you feel about that in regards to that?
It's just changing. But and this is where I'm grateful because obviously we have teams now that are way smarter at that than I am, and I get the fortunate benefit of learning from them as they're doing the research and the work. But I don't personally believe SEO is dying by any means. I think it's just changing. And from what research a lot of my team has done, it seems like it's starting to change where it's going to be moving more towards a cross platform and more about your content on the different platforms and multiple platforms because they're already scanning, of course, all these different sites across the web for your business information. And so I believe in what I've seen other people in the SEO world that are kind of, quote unquote experts talk about that has been the talks content across multi-platform helping with SEO. So
Okay.
that's I think where it's going. I know for sure 2025 is going to be a big year of content for us. I mean, we started doing a lot of content about 2 years ago, but we're really going to look at ramping it up this year. And I think that just content in general is starting to going to play a huge role, not only in marketing your company, but allowing customers to get to know, like, and trust you. But then it sounds like it's also going to end up playing into SEO as well.
And then would you think the whole AI thing, obviously Chat GPT, Meta AI, all that fun stuff, how does that play into helping with the rankings?
So this is where I think a lot of people, because we do a lot of stuff with AI, we're building some AI chatbot. Well, I should take it back. We already have AI chatbot incorporated into our business. So like we have AI that will handle conversations through text messaging and different platforms for us already. We're working on building in voice AI to now handle inbound calls and even book appointments. We're building that out right now. Now, in terms of AI, in regards to like SEO, what you're kind of talking about, I personally don't think AI is ever, and maybe it will eventually because they are improving fast, but at least where it's at right now, AI and ChatGPT is really just a tool to speed up what somebody is already good at doing. So if you're good at doing SEO, like creating blogs and writing articles to help with SEO, or for your website on page SEO content, if you already are good at that, it's just going to speed up the process in which you can do it. If you're a novice and you have no idea what you're doing, it will give you a really good start, but you still have to know how to go in and make that content unique to your business. But it creates a lot of great ideas. Like we use it to help us come up with content ideas. We use it to help us like write blogs, like all sorts of stuff. Facebook ad, we use it because it gives you really good ideas and starting points, but then you have to still know the fundamentals to then be able to go in and change what needs to be changed and really make it. So I just think it speeds up the process.
Yeah. And I think Ryan, I think you hit on that several weeks ago as well, about the whole Chat GPT thing.
Yeah, I just think it enhances what you're already doing. If you're somebody that's already good at what have you, it's just going to absolutely enhance and take you to the next level. If you're somebody like myself, who quite a few years ago, like I always had a hard time getting started on something, whether it be a blog or a piece of content or what have you,
Yep.
ideas. But once I had that, AKA first two sentences, like once I had that clicked in my head, then
Yep.
I could roll. So that's how I leverage. I mean, I use AI every single day, right? And I'm not an AI expert by any means, but to me, it's just one of the things where if you're not playing in it in some capacity today, at the growth and speed of which AI is hitting us sideways every single day, you're just going to be behind and obsolete at that point. So I just tell anybody, even if you're scared of AI, which I'm a little scared of AI, like, do I think it's going to take over the world? I don't know, right? I don't think anybody knows at this point what truly it is going to look like in the next, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, what have you. But just get involved, just play with it, have some fun with it, and find a way to incorporate it in everyday use, whether it be work, personal life, or what have you. It's assisted me with a ton of time back, I would say. But onto that, like with having these tools, when I go online on Facebook and I'm looking at other moving companies or sub shops or whatever the case is, like it is super easy to tell, especially when you're playing with ChatGPT every day. You can see everybody just copying and pasting. Like everybody looks the same.
Oh
So,
yeah.
one question for you, man, would be like, content wise, with everybody doing it, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are some of the differentiators that people can do to stand out above and beyond everybody else that's doing that same thing in 2025? Like, what are a couple key points that or nuggets that we could drop? Because again, everybody sounds the same right now to me, and you can tell when it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like if I see something written, I'm like, man, I know this guy personally. He never talks like that. There
Right.
is no way, and he created it in 3 seconds. Like, that's not him. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's where just a lot of people don't, especially if you're not in the world of doing it and learning it, most people don't know how to properly prompt or train the AI. So, for example, like with ChatGPT, you can create a segment in there, right? A little chat section where it says, "Hey, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of back and forth conversation with me for the next whatever 5, 10 minutes, and I want you to learn how I talk." and it will learn your writing style by just communicating back and forth with you, so you can basically train it to understand how you communicate and talk. Then once you've trained it how to communicate and talk, then it's really just about the prompts. And a lot of people don't know how to properly use prompts. So the reason why you get so many people that you can tell when it's Chat GPT is because they're just using a very generic prompt of, hey, write this for me or write this and sound professional or whatever. And so it spits out a very generic response. And how you really get it tailored to you is by one, you got to train it, but then two, you need to have very detailed prompts of exactly how you want stuff to come out. The more detail you give it, the more unique it will be to your situation and you in general. And
Hmm.
I just don't think a lot of, I shouldn't say I don't think, I know, because I've had so many conversations with business owners, is that most of them, it's still pretty new to them and they're not using it constantly and they're not learning about it. They're just, oh, this is a cool tool. All right, do this for me. And then they're done. And that's about the extent of it. So one, train your agent is what they call it or whatever. But then two, give it enough details so that it can be more unique.
Yeah, and when I was using Chat GPT, during I think their latest one. I think it's 4.0 or
Yeah.
it might be a little bit higher, but where they allow you to actually create images. Now, obviously, I think both AI Meta and ChatGPT are still suffering with text on images.
Right.
Um, but and I hope they fix that soon because that's a gold mine right there, just being able to get the text right on the images. Um, but when I was creating images without the text, properly prompting it was so crucial because you could say, "Hey, I want to
Yep.
create a picture of movers with cargo, brown cargo shorts, black shirts, with a instructor in the room who's standing by a chalkboard or something like
Yep.
that. Come down at a 45-degree angle, just highlighting, their what they're focused on or whatever the case is. And just prompting it just like that, it gave you like such a clean image.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was awesome.
Yep. Yep. Especially when it comes to images, you have to be very detailed. And before ChatGPT could do images, we were using um, uh, what was it? It's the one that it ran through Discord. Um, man, I'm drawing a blank on it, but it was ran through Discord. It's still one of the bigger ones out there right now, but you had to be very detailed in the prompt. And thankfully, they had a whole open source library on prompting and how to give it aspect ratios. And so, like, when we were going through that, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm learning photography right now because I got to learn aspect ratios and I got to learn language when it comes to like lighting, and you give it all these details and then it really can give you a really good image. I think so far from what I've seen, and at least today, when it comes to text on image, ChatGPT has really fixed that more than just about anybody. But sometimes it takes a little bit. You gotta be like, hey, put this word in your image. I need that. And it's still not perfect. I don't think the images are 100% there, but they're improving so fast on all of it. Like even AI video is incredible right now. There's some videos that it is getting to a point where it is really hard to tell if it was created by AI. And some of those ones where it's like really, really good are not yet open to the public. You have to be like a developer and have access to their backend, but man, they're getting good.
You sound like you was gonna say something, Ryan.
But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe I'm barking down the wrong tree here, or up the tree, or whatever that statement is. But I'm barking, right? So obviously, with the ability to type in, "Hey, I need a picture of four movers, 45-degree angle, all looking sharp, khakis, with my max moving training T-shirt on, blah blah blah." And with everybody doing that right now, like to me, I'm a stock image guy.
Yeah,
Or not stock image. I'm not stock image. I want basically pictures of
real
my
photos.
crew, my team. I'm going to spend that money on more or less kind of it. I want people to see my team.
We're
I
the
want my
same
guys to actually, I don't want this image showing up on my website when a customer's like, man, look at these guys, all khaki shirts
Yeah,
tucked. And look, they got stuff on the like these guys are. And then your crew shows up in their shorts, tank top, flip flops, what have you. Hopefully that's not how your guys' crews are showing up.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, back to, everybody doing the same thing. Everybody I see on Facebook, not everybody, right? But a good majority, Facebook. And I hop on a lot of moving companies' websites, and all these fictional images, and it's just like,
hmm
what are your thoughts on that, man? Again, I like having personal pictures. I like
yeah,
having my guys, my crew in their specific uniform with pictures of our trucks. I know the AI images can do a great job, but you can still tell clear as
right.
day, like this is not. So what are your thoughts from a marketing aspect and website design when it comes to basically, stock images versus
We we remove all stock as soon as we have photos that can remove stock images. We get rid of them. I For me, in my belief, I still go back to the fact of what you post, whether it's on your website, on your social medias. It's there to build build trust and knowledge of your company and what you do with a potential customer. And so we personally, like if we're building a website, like for example, when we first started our company back up, we didn't have pictures of guys moving yet. So yeah, we had some stock photos, but we made sure within the first job that we had on the books, we were out snapping pictures. Took a whole bunch and then we replaced them on the website and then we put them on our social medias. The AI again, it's cool, it's a good tool. It can help you do things quicker and speed up what you're doing. But I also take it back to like it's not going to replace someone who actually knows what they're doing. It's just going to enhance what that person's already doing. And so I still personally love real photos and needs to be a good photo, right? You still want to take high quality photos, but I think it builds more trust with people when they actually see, oh, that yeah, this is a real company. This is their people. This is what they do. And then same thing with video. Record a video of your guys working. Record a video of you as the owner talking. And I just think it's a piece of content in today's world that is really going to help with building that trust when people come search you, especially versus seeing a bunch of AI stuff. And like even with our social media graphics, we don't even use AI to create our social graphics. We built a whole bunch of templates for different types of posting, and then we use those templates and then we put real pictures or screenshots of reviews and we put them onto that graphic so it still looks nice, it looks branded, but it's not AI generated.
that's
Okay,
it.
okay.
Scary. Obviously, using ChatGPT, I have an open thread, right? So I don't ever
Yeah.
close it, and I feel like that's maybe it's a misconception or I heard one, but like to me, having that open thread in ChatGPT allows it to learn me a little bit more, a little bit
Yep.
faster, what have you. But I did
Yep.
this little thing. Actually, Travis Weathers over at Rotate. Um, I forget the prompt. I was just looking on my phone to see if I could find it. It was like 4 or 5 months ago, but it was like basically create an image based on everything I've basically communicated with ChatGPT. Show me what life looks like for Ryan Marsh in an image. And I will tell you, and do this when you get off this call or what have you. It was the craziest thing in the world. It literally had just about everything I've ever talked to ChatGPT with. It was me at the desk with paperwork all over the place, multiple computers, pictures of subs, moving trucks. Like it literally was a snapshot of my history with ChatGPT in a day in the life of me. And it was super, super cool, but it was like, damn, this thing knows more about me than I ever thought. Like
Yeah.
it reminded me of like, shit, I did that 6 months ago. And I'm like, oh, yes, I did. Like I did travel here. Like, holy cow. But just really, really cool. It just, it captured everything in basic, like a year and a half's time
Yep.
into one image. And it was weird because it had like my family in the far distant of that picture. And it was kind of like a wake up call, like, wow, between Supermove, between doing the other things on the side. And other business and things that I'm involved in, like that
Yeah.
was at the forefront. My family's all the way in the back. Like, why is my family not circled around the desk with me? Because they work in it just as much as I do. But it was just a real interesting piece. So when you get a chance, check that out, or if you already haven't done it. But it was a pretty cool thing and kind of a reminder of like, wow, where's most of my time being spent at this point?
Yeah.
I got to bring family back to the front of the line here. But no, it
I'm
was a pretty.
just I'm just impressed that basically it allowed you to keep a thread that long. Usually it like as soon as you close the tab, you kind of lose that information.
I do. I don't think my laptop's been turned off or shut down in probably like 2 years. That's probably why it's running a little goofy at this point. But no, the thread is like ridiculous. It
Yep.
really is. Like it just
Yep.
don't keep going.
And that's where, like, even going back to what I was saying earlier, make a chat, make a thread, and just let it talk with you, and it will learn. It will learn how you communicate, how you talk. You can teach it about yourself, and then you can use that same thread to help write responses, write ads, write articles, and then it's going to sound more like you because it's seeing how you communicate, and then just give it a prompt so that it knows what it needs to do and how it needs to do it. But yeah, it will, like, we'll use threads for different things and we'll just build upon it, and then eventually it gets so much knowledge because it's basically you're training it, is what you're training it by keeping everything there,
Mhm.
and then it learns exactly what it needs to learn.
And don't forget to say please and thank you because just in case it takes over the world, it'll remember you.
I get in a fight with it sometimes. Sometimes I ask it for something. I'm like, that is not what I'm like, come on, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
let's get going here. And it will. It'll throw a little attitude back, but generally it's pretty nice.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I always say thank you in chat, like, oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah. I haven't said a thank you. I've said please a couple times, but I never said a thank you to ChatGPT. I refuse.
So let's see. So what would you think is a good site? Obviously we have Canva, but I don't, and maybe if you pay for Canva, Canva give you a whole lot more uniqueness.
Yeah.
But what do you feel like is a really good site for like generated images?
For generating images, I mean, ChatGPT is honestly pretty good. And yeah, exactly, Ryan. Go take some pictures.
Yeah. Just
That
hit that little button, right? Just go, there you go.
yeah, I mean I would agree with Ryan 100%. Real pictures of you and your company is way better than an AI generated image. But again, it depends on what you need and what you're trying to do. Like, Canva is a really good place for people who don't know, or maybe who don't have a lot of creative skills in terms of like how to use a platform. Canva is a very, in my opinion, very beginner friendly for being able to create pictures and social media posts and content where you can then add your own, again, live pictures, add your own live pictures to it. But Canva is a really good place to start, and even their free account, you
I think we lost them.
Uh-oh. Better
That's the
take a
worst.
screenshot of that.
All right, that's the worst part to freeze at. Um,
At least he froze looking better than when I freeze. Usually I freeze. I'm like,
so he'll likely be back. He's probably gonna get booted off. Um, so yeah, I think it's like you were saying. So Canva, I think is a good starting point for like social media post. And then obviously combining that with Chat GPT, but ultimately getting Chat GPT, like I guess we've been saying, to be more like you and not, very general. So, ultimately ask the right questions to chat. Like chat is very, very informative, and I haven't had it yet turn me away and say, "Hey, I can't answer that question." You know, with obviously this new opportunity that I told Ryan about, ultimately I'm creating reports. I'm like, "Hey, what is the most essential reports I need?" Because obviously the reports when I was running a moving company is different from the reports doing something else. So it's kind of like, okay, well, hey, here's the 5 to 10 essential reports. Now, not every report is going to be important. Remember, you don't want to get yourself lost in reports and numbers that you really don't know what makes real sense. and you just have them to have them to say that, oh, well, if somebody ever asked me that question, you know, I kind of know it. It's it's pointless because what if somebody never asked you that question and obviously you don't remember what that report is supposed to tell you. So, you know, when it comes to your moving company, stick to the basic reports. Marketing report. Within your marketing report, stick to, you know, five to six, yeah, about five to six metrics. You know, your acquisition costs, your cost per lead, your percentage of marketing spend, you know, just basic metrics that you can understand from a glance without having to overcomplicate it. I'm looking at stuff like what is it called? Average customer value, you know, ACV. That's a, you know, a very unique metric that you typically won't need to use in a moving company. You know, just and the reason I say that is just because most customers are a one-off customer anyways. So understanding the life value of one customer is, hmm, yeah, how often are they going to move unless you are diversifying your services? You know, and it's, I guess, a tech business like Ryan, you know, where it's like, hey, you know what? We expect that customers on a subscription. We're going to have lifetime value. What else can we nurture? How else can we nurture this client? It's a different field, different things you're looking at.
Yeah, no, like ACV is definitely something that we we look at and focus on and kind of pops up, right? So I think depending on where you're at within the business and what type of business and who your actual client is, like, yeah, definitely certain reporting is going to be better than others. I think all reporting is definitely critical to understand the business as a whole. But yeah, there's definitely, dial into to those 5 to 6 to, even upwards of 10 metrics, right? Depending on who you are, what you are, and how complex your business is. So
Mhm.
looks like he's back.
So, so yeah. Let me see if we got any other questions going on here. So yeah, I guess while we're on the topic of reports, what other reports have you found to be valuable, whether it's your sub shop or anything else?
Sub shop, sub shop, yeah. I mean, obviously payroll is a big one. So basically net sales to basically what our payroll is. Always have a pulse on basically where our food costs are compared to what our selling piece is. I want to know how much traffic on average we have come in each day. But again, I leverage, we got a really cool point of sale system for that where it basically tracks and monitors all of that, which really allows me to just focus on Supermove and, the plane is in the air with the sub shop and a couple different KPIs that I look at each and every day, which, like I said, mostly it's like, working hours versus total sales because you never want to have, you know, you don't want your payroll to exceed your total sales by any means, right? So making sure that's within that, 20%-ish area, in alignment and, keeping up on food costs and where that's at. But I look at a whole bunch of different things and probably sometimes a little bit too granular because the girls are like, what do you mean? You're talking about we're missing 5 pieces of American cheese. And I'm like, well, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I know it's only 34 cents for those pieces of cheese, but that's 34 cents. Like,
Hmm.
did it get dropped on the floor? Did we put too much cheese on a particular sub that day or what have you? So, no, I've got her dialed in pretty tight, man, to the point where most people probably think I'm pretty annoying with it. But
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, we're back. All of a sudden, I guess our whole house just lost power.
Oh, never fun.
Yeah, but we're
Um,
good.
I was
I
gonna
thought
say,
he's shutting us down, being like, no, y'all talking too bad about me.
ah,
Yeah.
Turn Kate off real quick.
I was gonna say, Ryan, now do you got it down to like you how much you're paying for, you know, the minuscule price thing where it's like, oh well, cheese is gonna cost me this and you know, a slice of turkey is gonna cost me this, or whatever the case is. Like,
100%. Yeah. I mean, cost per basically per ounce, per the particular type of meat that goes on. Plus, we have everything is basically pre-measured out each day. So I know to a T that you're going to get 4.5 ounces on that half sub. I know that bread cost me 42 cents for the half. The whole cost me, I mean, I know basically to a penny of what everything costs on that sub. And again, back to kind of knowing your numbers. I mean, it's one thing to sit there and say, yeah, I'm selling my sub for $15. Well, how much does it cost you? $15 could be too high, $15 could be too low, depending on basically where you're at. So for us, like knowing a half sub and us, coming up with basically what the cost is, we don't know what people are going to show up in order each day. Some people come in, just get a ham and cheese, no mayo, and just the bun, like very, very basic, right? So obviously minimal cost there. But how do you basically cost average someone like Dwight that comes in and wants 14 toppings on their sub? So I basically just kind of went ahead and said, hey, assuming everybody's going to come in and get lettuce, tomato, onions, banana peppers, what have you, I baked all that into my cost and then made my markup from there. So if Dwight comes in and orders the Mac Daddy with everything on it, I know I'm still getting my margins. And if Cade comes in and says, man, I just want cheese on bread, well, guess what? I'm crushing it with those particular margins there. So I try to keep it simple that way and assume people are going to order more than not. Um, it's been really, really successful at this point. We're capturing 37% right now, just over 37%, all said and done. But again, without knowing the numbers, I wouldn't know where I would be, and I equate that to, whether you're driving a car or flying a plane, like there's particular gauges that everybody looks at every single day. Like Dwight, when you're driving a car, what's the one thing you pay attention to most of the time?
If I'm driving a car, are we
Yep.
talking about awareness now as far as lights?
Well, speedometer, right? Everybody's looking at the speedometer, right?
Oh yeah, because you always worry about that ticket. Uh,
Well, I equate that like, everybody needs to have those particular gauges, aka KPIs in their organization to drive that,
mhm.
fly that plane, make sure things are, you're not, you can't use the word turbulence anymore. According to the airlines, it's, rough air. So how do we predict that rough air in your particular business? Before it was pilots would be flying and boom, 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 like, oh shit, buckle up. Here we go. Like
Mhm.
now, the predictability, having different particular softwares and whatever they have on them damn planes, like they can predict and see and know up front, like, hey, we're going to be approaching rough air. So equate that into your business. Like, if you're a moving company, you should see when that rough air is coming. If you're booking to max capacity, like, like, hey, one guy calls out or one truck breakdown, we're going to have some turbulence. So maybe we should kind of steer around and not book to 110%. Maybe we should, max our capacity out at 80% with that backup crew or that warehouse crew. Where in the event somebody does call off or a truck breaks down, we can easily insert and continue flying that plane.
Yep, and that makes absolute sense. I think some reports you can get done in the beginning of the year when you do your forecasting and projection. So, when you do your rate changes, or in your case, when you do your sub analysis on how much that sub is going to cost, or whatever the case is, or the unit cost. And moving is like, hey, what is my rates? How much am I looking to charge this year? Is there anything that changed in the market or my area? So if I'm going to increase my price, what is my profit margin? And you break your rates down. Okay, it's what makes up 160. If my two-man rate is 160, and you really break that down, okay, well, hey, we got taxes. Our overhead last year was higher than it was in previous years. So that's going to be a factor that raises your rates this year. And there's other metrics that I'll use. I use actually like four metrics that actually go right into showing what the rates will be, and then you got your profit margin. And usually the profit margin they say can range between 25 and 35%. So it just depends on where you want to be, and where your market is working. You don't want to be at 35, 40% just because you want to make that money. Um, but once you create that report, you don't have to necessarily look at it again for at least 6 months or maybe so like that, because you don't always want to change it anyways. That'll drive you crazy. But when you're in an unregulated state like Florida, yeah, yeah, you can almost help to change your rates almost like weekly, daily, because there's companies that's lowballing. Oh, we could do it for $105 an hour, and you're just trying to get a job, and you're like, I knew that I was at 160. How much can I go down? But if you're in an actual state where you don't change your rate so often, you can then focus on reports like your itemized report. How many two-man jobs are going out? How many times have we charged a travel fee? How many times have we done long distance moving or local moving? So you can really focus on a kind of like a macro level versus like a micro level in a sense in that aspect of thinking. But there are reports that are just beneficial after a certain point, but you need to create those initial reports in like January to forecast what type of year you want to have. I don't know about, am I the only one thinking that way?
No, I mean, I'm with you. The more we can forecast, the more we can predict, I think the better off you're going to be. And yeah, leveraging 3 and 5 year trends if you have access to the data. And I think that was a big issue in the moving industry is like data just wasn't there. I know me growing up, not growing up in the industry, but rewind 14, 15 years ago, if I wanted to run a report, I was pulling folders. If I want to know how many jobs we did Q1, I'd go basically, and unfortunately, I couldn't just go pull all the jobs from Q1 because I had to go to the filing cabinet. We had our local, we had our intra, we had our interstate, we had our commercial, we had our spec com, we had our international, we had our final mile. Like I'm pulling all that shit, right? Now it's all alphabetized in there too. So now that I pull it, it's one thing to go through it and I'm like, okay, we did 72 locals. We did 84 inter, like it was a pain in the ass, right?
Mhm.
So it took me weeks just to get the data that I needed, and then another freaking 3, 4 days just to compile it and say, okay. But by that time, it's like, how much time has been wasted? But now with the insertion of command centers and CRMs and reporting at your fingertips, so much easier to make data driven decisions with the technology that's out there. And if you're continue to make decisions based on feelings, like I pray for you, good luck. But you got to leverage that data to make those decisions at this point, especially if you want to dominate in the market you're at, be profitable, and ultimately be successful. And I thought the housekeeping was coming to kick me out of the hotel here. They are. Oh, I'll stay here. They ain't gonna let me in.
So yeah, no. So I would say that like I was a big fan of using QuickBooks desktop version. And I was like, I'm never paying for the subscription. I'm just gonna pay for this CD and keep it for 4 or 5 years and then upgrade to the next CD and kind of go from there. But the amount of time you spent doing manual journal entries every month and hoping that it balances out is ridiculous. And there's been times where I was off 1 cent and I'm like, I have to find that 1 cent. So now you have to go through all of these entries, making sure that they all add up, and then be like, oh, snap, at the 4th of last month, I actually, instead of spending $36 and $36, I actually spent $36.01. There we go. Jeez. Compared to now using QuickBooks Online and just letting it just go right into your books and automatically map to the right account. It's been, night and day game changer. Is there any particular reports you found to be useful, Kate?
Um, I mean, we have, I guess when it comes to financials, we, I mean, we've used QuickBooks. We have an accountant now that just takes care of everything. But, um, when in the beginning, I guess with a lot of businesses, and I know this changes depending on what industry you're going into, and like Ryan's talked about with the sub shop, there's a lot of things that you have to know with the different pieces that go on a sandwich. I think for us in the moving industry, it can be a little bit simpler because we don't necessarily have as a big of a variety. It's usually more often than not a lot of payroll is typically our bulk of it, and then trucks, insurance, and then any softwares or marketing that we're paying for. But what we what we looked at really closely in the beginning, because when we started, we actually built the whole first year, year to year and a half almost, on just U-Hauls. We didn't even go buy a truck because we were just pushing money back into marketing. And it made it really simple, but also too, we were spending a lot of money on U-Hauls. So our profit margins were probably a little bit smaller with that. But I would say the biggest thing that we looked at was our rates and then just our overall operating cost. Like what were we spending with our movers? Because we did pay our movers a lot more than just about everyone else in town. Our movers were starting at $20 an hour, where other companies were starting them at 12. And so we had definitely more employee costs on the mover side, but we were able to offset that with our office staff because we hire our office staff from Mexico. And they're really good English speaking. A lot of them are expats, so they worked in the US or they lived in the US for a period of time, so their English is really good, maybe a small Spanish accent, but it allowed us to pay our movers more and still keep our rates somewhat lower to mid range and still have roughly a 25% profit margin starting out. So we could be a kind of a lower mid-tier price company, pay our movers better. And so that was really where we focused, I guess, when we were looking at data originally was how can we pay our movers so we can get really good movers that are actually interacting with the customer and still keep our price point at a level that is not way up top where maybe we're not going to get as many jobs, but kind of that mid to lower mid tier range where we can book up a bunch of jobs, get a lot of exposure, get tons of reviews, get tons of people sharing our name and their experience with us. And so I'd say that's what we looked at really hard in the beginning was our operating cost to, our net profit.
Yeah. No, that's definitely things to look at. So Sean asks, before I know we're getting close to that time, Sean asks, what is your experience using Nextdoor?
Love it. We actually the first year in business we won the Nextdoor whatever one of their Nextdoor awards or whatever. Nextdoor is amazing. It's another great platform. It's also it's a platform where neighbors go and it's a very trusted. Like someone leaves a post or a comment or shares something, it's very trusted because it's only within that community. So Nextdoor is a great platform. We put our business on there. We also use some additional tips and tricks where ask, we would ask customers to leave a post about us on their Nextdoor app, and they send us a screenshot, and we send them a $10 gift card. Or
Okay.
we personally, as the owner, I would go in and I would just make a post in my Nextdoor community and say, "Hey guys, I own a moving company. If anybody needs services or knows someone that needs services, give us a call. We're happy to help." And I did the same thing in pest control when I was doing door to door. I would post, "Hey guys, I work with our pest control company. We're running a special right now. If you need something," I generated 3 to 5 deals a week just by posting on Nextdoor with the pest control. Moving's a little bit different because you don't have as many people necessarily moving all the time, but it's a great platform to be on. More platforms you can be on, the more exposure you're going to get, and you're going to hit different audiences that use different platforms.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it just comes down to diversifying your services. This is the winter months. This is the perfect time to diversify your services. But, strategically, don't just say, hey, we're going to do snow removal just because it's a thing right now because
Right.
it's snowing. Because, oh, the insurance for that is ridiculously expensive.
I
Um,
could see it. I could just see a freaking Western plow on the front of a 26-foot straight truck. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Uh-huh. So, and I was
uh,
gonna I was gonna actually get a lease from a company where they'll loan me their like a snow plower and get the insurance and stuff like that. But the insurance is like ridiculously expensive, like $4,000 for, 12 months. And I'm like, it don't snow for 12 months. I just need it for temporary coverage. And and then they're like, well, it's assumed risk because what if you hit something like a curb and damage like, the infrastructure, whatever the case is, while you're trying to plow. And I'm just
keep
like,
going. Just keep going.
don't stop. But, so it's just like make sure if you do diversify that one, you have the demand to handle the service. Two, you got it dialed in because, hey, we're in a service market where people don't really want to pay for much.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is. I offered painting services at one point in time, and I strategically broke it down so I knew how much paint cost. I knew how much my labor was going into it. I knew, all of this stuff. So when I get into a house and I was able to do an in-house estimate and tell a customer, oh, it's going to cost you about $600. $600? Oh no, I don't want to pay that. And it's just like, lady, I'm going to be here all week. I'm going to be here, trying to do double coatings and all this other stuff. I got to tape off your house, clean up a lot of areas. They don't want to hear that.
I'll tell you what, man, I do need our house painted, and for $600, I'll hire you tomorrow. Actually, today. Because the quotes I'm getting to paint 4 rooms in the house, I'm just like all the same color. I'm like, same thing. I'm like, God damn, a lot of money. But it's $54, $55 a gallon. I'm gonna need It was like 6 gallons to do everything. So just that alone was crazy expensive, right? And then it's like, okay, you're probably going to double or triple that, which is probably going to be your labor. So understood, but it's like, man, write the check or spend 5 days painting when someone can come in there and realistically in a day and a half have the entire thing knocked out. So, but depends on the value, right? The painting contractor that I reached out to and talked to like did not build any value. It was just all led with price. That was it. If you would have told me and kind of gave me some, like I'm the easiest person. You think being in sales, like it'd take me a lot longer to get sold, or I would like negotiate or what have you. Like, now I'm the biggest sucker. If I want something, need something, I go get it. I'm not going to negotiate because I'm like, this guy needs his, even if they're terrible at their job, I'm like, man, no one's buying from this guy. I feel bad. Like, I got to give him a little bit of business. But this guy, this team of people, like, no value, no anything. Just here's your price. We'll do it. Let us know. And I'm like, it's the first time I'm kind of like, man, I need a little bit more. Like, there's no justification with the price. I had to do my due diligence to be like, okay, this number makes sense, but most people don't do that.
Mhm.
They see the price and they either take it or they're like, nope, on to the next, on to the
Yeah.
next. I feel like that's something where this moving industry is kind of headed, or it already is people calling around to Dwight's moving company. I'm just going to throw fictional names out there, but Dwight's moving, and Dwight's like, yeah, $1,100, and then they call Cade, and Cade's like, ooh, 850. Like that one phone call right there just saved them $150. So do you think they're going to call another moving company? You bet your
Mhm.
ass. Then they call another moving
Oh,
company,
okay.
700. And it's like, holy cow, what are we doing? Like, we need to start building more value, explaining more of our service, being transparent with the process, and build that price point up. I mean, we're all hacking each other down
Mhm.
every single day, and it's tough to watch on my side. It's very,
Mhm.
very tough to watch movers drop their rates just to try to compete. And it's like, ask some deeper questions, build that relationship with the customer, be different. You can get a lot more money than your competitor all day long on the same damn move if you just build that value, build that rapport, build that trust. Just don't just keep throwing out price. You know, speed to lead is one thing, but speed to price to me is the wrong approach to take.
Mhm.
So, since we are at the top of the hour, just to respond to Moving Company Hustle's comment, he said, "I seen zero ROI putting money into Nextdoor ads, high ROI on Nextdoor using referring my users referring my company." So, I think with anything that you put money into, you just need to be able to invest 90 days into it. If you're not able to invest a 90-day period into it, it's not going to show you the results that you need to show because one, it needs to understand your company. You need to understand its process. And that first 30 days is you getting acquainted with that company and that service. So now, probably around the 31 to 60 day range, you're actually starting to see some results trickle in, or you should start to see some results trickle in. But that 31 to 60 days is where you also want to make modifications because, hey, the first 30 days didn't work out right.
Yeah.
So the 31 to 60-day range is like, hey, let me make some modifications. Let me see what I can adjust. And then the 61 to 90-day period, you're like, okay, hey, I had 2 months so far. The first month wasn't really that good. The second month shows some increase or decrease. All right, this 90-day, 61 to 90-day, I seen a major increase. Okay, you know what? They seem like they're working. Or I seen a decrease. So now that's 2 out of 3 months that I seen a decrease. Okay, I can move on to something else. But if you can't give 90 days to anything, even a staff member, a worker, you get a new sales rep in your company. I was a big fan of giving them 90 days. Hey, the first 30 days you're training. Most of that time you're training. The 31 to 60 day, okay, you're kind of on your own at this point. I kind of want to see that you're making a little progress because obviously you should be better than what your training month was. And then that last 61 to 90 days, either they hit their goals that you set for them, and if they did, unfortunately, I had to let them go. But if they did hit their goal, okay, hey, you earned your spot here. But 90 days is the perfect time frame, in my opinion. It's not too much, not too little, and it really gets things in motion. But we are at the top of the hour, y'all. So I hope y'all did get some results from this. Thank you so much, Cade, for joining us.
Yeah.
If you want to leave your hashtag on, if companies want to reach out to you, you want to leave anything behind?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you guys are looking for anything, easiest place to probably reach me is on Facebook. just because I'm on my computer. I'm on social media quite a bit at the time, and then if you need any marketing services, I guess, or something like that, we run all that through our basically our print shop. So we're custom print web marketing. So we do printing, web, and marketing all through that one company. Um, but yeah, so Facebook's usually if you got questions or something, easiest place to reach me is shoot me a message, and then if you need any marketing or anything, print, you can reach us at customprint.it.
All right, he a little too conservative there. We're gonna get his calling card and put it on this transcript. And then what about yourself, Ryan? Anything note to leave with these movers?
No, man, just have fun, enjoy the moment, plan, prepare. I mean, if you're not basically your year should already be planned at this point. So hopefully most moving companies did their planning at the end of Q4 for basically this upcoming year. I mean, it's never too late to plan, but it kind of is, I would say at the same time. But just enjoy the moment, have fun, be transparent, and build value every single day with your customers. And I just got to pack up a bag here because they keep on knocking. My checkout says 12 o'clock. I don't know what I got Hilton Honors rewards. I don't know why they're banging on my door at 10 o'clock. But
All right, well, you enjoy your trip, get home safe. Everybody else out there, keep crushing it. It's the cold months right now, so definitely keep crushing it. Keep setting the game plan, set the tone for the rest of the year. This is Q1, so make sure that Q2 is definitely going to be dominant because we all know what that time of the year is. So, all right, y'all keep crushing it. We'll see y'all next week.
we'll see you guys. Nice meeting you, Cabe.
So, guys, nice meeting you guys too.